Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Well, students, today the topic which we are going to discuss is very interesting and very amazing. Today you are going to learn about the reflex action and the neurons which actually help the nerve cells or the nerve pathway which actually help to happen. The reflex action is known as a reflex arc. So let's discuss about that. Basically, students, the reflex action. Basically, the central nervous system send the impulses to muscles and the glands. We know very well that the central nervous system used to send the impulses to the effector and used to accept the pulses from the receptors. So, the receptor to the nervous system and then central nervous system CNS to the effectors. So, effectors we have already learned about that the effectors could be the muscles or it could be the glands. So, what is happening now here? Basically, the central nervous system is sending the impulses to the muscles and the gland, and two types of the actions used to produce by the central nervous system. The one impulse in which the brain is involved, the higher center of the brain is involved, and such kind of the you can say that such kind of the impulses are known as the or such kind of the actions are known as the voluntary action. If in any action, if in any impulse, if the brain is involved, the higher center of the brain is controlling that impulse, that is known as the voluntary action. That is known as what? Voluntary action. And if and the other in other word you can say conscious. So what is happening, student, that if any impulse, if the brain is involved in such kind of the action will be known as the voluntary actions and the conscious action. Like you are learning, you are doing the voluntary action, in that the brain is involved. You are walking, you are running, you are eating. So such kind of the actions are basically the voluntary action in which the higher center of the brain used to take part. Now the other is basically are those impulses which are not passes to the higher center of the brain, and such kind of the impulses are known as the they are known as a involuntary action. They are known as what? Involuntary action. One is a voluntary action. In the voluntary action we have learned that the brain is involved. The impulses in which the higher center of the brain is involved is known as a voluntary action. But in the case where the brain is not involved in such impulses, where the higher part of the brain is not involved, is known as the involuntary action. As well as it is also known as that it is not under conscious control. Their response are not basically under the conscious control. When the impulses are not passes to the higher center of the brain, it results in the response which is not under the conscious control. So, involuntary actions are those actions. Basically, involuntary actions are those actions in which the brain is not involved, and such impulses used to produce such kind of the result which lacks conscious. It means मतलब हमें पता नहीं होता कि क्या हुआ है, but we used to do that action. Like the action which you have done is not in your it is actually done abruptly. That was not a conscious action. That was not. Let's suppose, students, if you are touching any kind of the hot object, you will abruptly take your hand away. Why you are taking your hands abruptly away, even you don't know what happens, but you will take your hands away abruptly, and after that you will come to know कि शायद ये गर्म था इस वजह से मैंने हाथ उठाया है, शायद यहाँ पे नोकीली चीज़ थी या जहरीली चीज़ थी, that's why I have taken my hand away. So what is that? This is basically the non-conscious action and known as an involuntary action. Sometimes the involuntary actions produced by a CNS is very quick. Let's suppose, students, involuntary actions. If we are going to discuss about the involuntary action, then involuntary actions are those actions in which the brain is not involved. But in some involuntary action, they are very quick, they are very fast, they are very they used to give the result in the nanosecond. Why these involuntary actions are very quick? The reason is that the spinal cord is involved. The spinal cord is involved in that. CNS, the central nervous system, the spinal cord of the CNS is involved. So such involuntary actions are very quick. The reason is that the central nervous system is involved in it, and these are known as basically the reflex. What is known as the reflex action? It is known as what? A reflex action. And reflex, that is known as what? Reflex action. And the neurons or the nerve impulse which is actually generated due to the CNS to help that reflex action will be known as a reflex arc. So what is happening, students, here? Basically here what is happening, that some involuntary actions are very quick. And why they are very quick? The reason is that the spinal cord, the CNS of the spinal cord is involved. And such kind of the actions which are very quick, the involuntary actions which are quick due to the involvement of the CNS is known as a reflex action. And the nerve impulse which is generated due to the like you can say due to this reflex action, the nerve impulse which is generated due to the reflex action is known as a reflex arc. So this is basically known as the reflex action and reflex arc. If anybody is going to ask you that what is a reflex action, what is a reflex arc, you're going to say that the reflex action is action which is generated by the CNS to produce a quick involuntary action. And the nerve impulse which is following the pathway to produce the reflex action is known as a reflex arc. So let's discuss its examples. So look at here, students, very carefully, which we have learned already about the structure of the spinal cord. We know it very well. If we are going to discuss about the structure of the spinal cord, we know it very well that this is the butterfly structure, and that is known as a gray matter. And you know it very well why it is known as a gray matter. Now, the two nerves are used to, that one pair of the nerve is used to produce 31 pairs of nerves are going to produce from the spinal cord, and each pair of the nerve contains the motor neuron and the sensory neuron. Okay, one is the afferent and one is the dorsal. Now, in that case, students, listen to me very carefully. Here, if you are going to observe in that diagram, you will see that a person have touched a hot object. So what is going to happen now? If let's suppose this is a person who used to touch any kind of a hot object, like let's suppose candle, the temperature and the pan receptors are present in the skin. The temperature and the pan receptors are present in the skin. Now what will happen? These pan receptors and temperature will generate the nerve impulse. These receptors will generate the nerve impulse, and this nerve impulse will travel through the sensory neuron and will reach to the spinal cord. Now, spinal cord will give the message to take the hand away from that fire through the motor neuron, and this motor neuron will send the message to the muscles. You can say muscle of the arms, to the effectors, to the muscle of the arm, and now what will happen? The hand, you are going to take it away from the fire. Now, this is basically the reflex action, that you have taken your hand away from the fire, but the nerve impulse that generate in result of this, like the nerve which travels from the sensory neuron to the spinal cord, and then from the spinal cord to the motor neuron, and then to the hand, this will be known as a reflex arc. Now, after some time, this spinal cord will send the message to the brain, and then brain will come to know that was the fire. And then you will come to know that this was the fire which actually burns you. Now, might you have ever let's think about it, might you have faced such kind of the situation in your life, that what happens, that you are walking and abruptly a sharp thing or any kind of the nail used to come under your feet. What will happen? It is not like that you are going to put your foot on that nail, right? And the nail is going to inject, a complete nail is going to inject your feet. No, it will like that. Once if you're going to feel that it is a sharp, abruptly nerve will produce a nerve, a pan receptor will generate the nerve, and the nerve will travel to the CNS, and CNS will send a message to the muscles to take your fear away. So, abruptly, a sudden response, a quick involuntary action was there. Even you don't know कि what happens, what is below. वो जब आप आंखों से देखोगे तब आपको पता चलेगा कि यार ये तो कील थी, that was a nail which was actually hurting you. ठीक है, after looking by your eyes, then you will come to know that there was something which was hurting you. So what actually it means that that was a quick action and even the brain were not involved. That's why you don't know what was under your foot, but you have saved yourself. So this is basically the reflex action, and the nerve impulse which is produced is known as a reflex arc. So hope so you get the lecture. Okay students, I'm reading this example for you so that you can get that. The most common example of reflex action is the withdrawal of the hand after touching a hot object. Whenever you are going to come across, or if you are going to touch any kind of the hot object, what will happen? The nerve impulse will produce, and this is going to produce with the pan or the temperature receptor that is present on your skin. And this nerve impulse is going to reach to the spinal cord. Now, you know very well there's the one is afferent nerve and other one is a efferent nerve. You know it very well. So the sensory nerve is going to generate and the message is going to transfer to the interneuron of the spinal cord. And these interneurons are going to detect it and will send the message through the motor neuron, and the motor neuron will say what? To take your hand away. Right? So this is basically the reflex action, or the nerve movement is known as a reflex arc. The temperature receptor or the pan receptor that is present in your skin. So hope so you get that. Okay student, this is all. If you have any query, you can ask me freely, and you can just ask a question or just leave the comment for me so that I can answer you. Best of luck and Allah Hafiz. Work hard. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.